Hello class 6 students, welcome back to this science digital class, and today we are going to start the last chapter of your science textbook, which is chapter 17, Give Waste Another Chance. Chapter at a glance. Classification of waste, management of hazardous waste, waste management, recycling waste. Engage. Look at the pictures below and identify the type of waste. Match the type of waste to the correct bin by drawing lines. Classification of waste. वेस्ट को किस तरीके से अलग अलग जगह पर अलग अलग हिस्से में क्लासिफाई किया जाता है. Generally speaking, waste is categorized according to its physical state, its source, the mean of dispersal and its characteristics. Waste is also broadly categorized based on its physical state and ability to decompose. According to its physical state, waste can be grouped into solid, liquid और gas. तो because of the matter जो है हमारी जो वेस्ट का जो स्टेट है उसके बेसिस पे हम वेस्ट को सॉलिड, लिक्विड और गैस तीन अलग अलग टाइप ऑफ वेस्ट में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं. Let's first look at solid waste. Waste that are solid and are generally generated by household and industrial activities are known as solid waste. For example, picking cases, glass bottles, polythene bags, newspapers and iron scraps are solid waste. In this picture, you can see solid waste, liquid waste. जो waste liquid में हो, वो liquid waste. The waste released along with water or any other liquid are liquid waste. Sewage from houses containing human excreta, effluents from impurities and agricultural drainage are a few examples of liquid waste. Gases waste. Harmful gases like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide, which are discharged into the atmosphere in the form of gases, primarily smoke from factories and automobiles, are gases waste. Activity. Divide the class into three groups. The first group will examine the content of the classroom waste basket. Ask the group to identify the various types of waste materials generated by the class. Categorize the waste materials as paper product, glass, metals, plastic, organic waste, etc. Record the finding on the blackboard. The second group should examine the flow of waste materials after they are collected from the classroom. This may require an interview with the cleaning staff of the school. Are the waste consolidated with the waste from the other classrooms? Why? Are the waste transferred into a larger? Are any waste materials recycled? If waste are collected from the school, by the municipality or a commercial disposal firm, where are the waste disposed? The third group should determine the type of waste generated in different rooms of the school, the science laboratories, the gymnasium, the art and the craft room, the canteen, etc. Are these waste handled in the same manner as classroom waste? Determine what other waste are generated by the school. Where do these waste go? Create a diagram or a flow chart on the blackboard to outline the reports of groups 2 and 3, showing the steps between the waste generation and waste disposal. Types of waste. Waste कितने type का होता है? Waste is divided into 4 main groups according to its source. Waste generated by households, waste generated by commercial activities, waste generated by hospitals, waste generated by industrial activities. Household garbage. Household's garbage include these things: food waste, packing material like bottles, etc. from daily housekeeping, bulky domestic waste like refrigerators, furniture, etc. Septic waste. Street rubbish from street sweeping, garden and park waste. Commercial activities. Waste from commercial units includes these things: metal scrap from car, other vehicles, etc. Waste from office, hotels, shops, market, restaurant, etc. Building and demolition rubbish. Hospitals and laboratories. Hospital waste is generated during the diagnosis, treatment or immunization of human beings or animals or in research activities in these fields. It may include waste like disposable needles, discarded medicines or chemical waste, etc. These are in the form of disposable syringes, bandages, body fluids, human excreta, etc. This waste is highly infectious and can be a serious threat to human health if not managed in a scientific and discriminate manner. Industrial waste. Industrial waste can be categorized as follows: organic waste from fisheries, aquaculture, farms, agriculture, and food industries. Mining waste, general garbage resulting from most industrial undertaking, from workshops, warehouse, etc. All waste materials thrown into the environment have different capacities to decompose. Some break down into simpler substances while some stay in their original form. In these images, you can see a hospital waste and a industrial waste. Biodegradable and non-biodegradable wastes. Based on the ability of substance to decompose, waste can be of two types: biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. Biodegradable waste. These are the waste that can be decomposed under natural conditions by the actions of microorganisms. For example, remains of fruits and vegetables, dead and decaying plants and animals are all biodegradable waste. Non-biodegradable waste. The waste which do not degrade or decompose very slowly are non-biodegradable. Examples of these are polythene bags, aluminium cans and glass. In these images, you can see biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. Hazardous waste. Hazardous waste वो होता है जो high potentially हमारे लिए खतरा होता है. So hazardous waste is characterized by a high potential for direct damage to health and welfare by causing serious pollution and environmental harm. This is the image of hazardous waste storage. They are highly inflammable, for example, oil products. They are extremely reactive, that is, they react spontaneously in contact with other materials and lead to generation of toxic gases, explosion, fire or heat. For example, cyanide, acids, bases and alkaline matter. They are toxic and could cause damage or be fatal to living organisms. For example, pesticides and heavy metals. They are highly infectious. They are carcinogenic, that is, they cause cancer. They are ecotoxic, that is, these substances accumulate and or poison the ecosystem directly. Hazardous waste can occur as residuals of a series of activities. For example, agricultural, animal husbandry, forestry and industries related to these primary activities like dairies, breweries, textiles, leather industries, pulp and paper industries, energy production based on oil as coal and related activities. For example, mining and oil drilling, metallurgical industries and production of electronic equipments, glass, asbestos and cement, chemical industry and processing also produce hazardous waste. Household and service industries are also sources of hazardous waste. For example, leaf containing batteries, paints and solvents, chemical from photo laboratories, research laboratories, hospitals, etc. Some types of hazardous waste can be potentially dangerous over a period of time, whereas some become dangerous only in combination with other residual products. Naturally occurring substance, when exposed to a special condition like heat, occasionally waste, which is not originally hazardous, becomes very dangerous if generated in high amount. Waste management. वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट वेस्ट को मैनेज करने का तरीका होता है जिसमें वेस्ट को एक प्रॉपर तरीके से मैनेज किया जाए ताकि वो एनवायरनमेंट के लिए या ह्यूमन हेल्थ के लिए हार्मफुल ना हो. Garbage generated in households can be recycled and reserved to minimize creation of waste at source and reduce the amount of waste thrown into community dustbins. Waste management can include a series of activities. Number first, storage. Storage of waste takes place at the spot where the waste is produced. Domestic refuse is normally stored continually in a container or sack until collected. The daily production is usually stored inside the house until it is carried outside for collection. These can be 1 unit per household or per several household as local communal collection. In this image, you can see a child throwing garbage in a bin. Collection. Collection generally takes place by loading waste from the storage container onto a vehicle. For example, a hand cart, a tractor with trailer, a lorry or special garbage truck. The garbage is usually collected and emptied by the crew of garbage collection, whereas there is a systematic collection. Small scale industries and businesses are usually included. Major manufacturing industries that produce large amount of waste usually run their own system for collection and transport. Collection of sludge from waste treatment plants also requires separate collection routines. तो वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट करने के लिए पहले उसको एक प्रॉपर तरीके से स्टोर किया जाता है और उसके बाद उसको कलेक्ट किया जाता है. Let's first see this activity. Aim: to talk to the person who collect the garbage from the dump in your locality and find out the total amount of waste collected per day, how often the dump is cleaned, are there any special measures to keep the dump clean, try to find out the number of houses in the locality, using that dumping site, calculate the approximate garbage generated by these houses. वेस्ट ट्रांसफर एंड ट्रांसपोर्ट. और कलेक्शन के बाद जो नेक्स्ट स्टेप आती है वो होती है वेस्ट को ट्रांसफर करके उसको अलग जगह पर ले जाना. इफ द प्लेस ऑफ डिस्पोजल इज फार अवे और इफ वेरी स्मॉल व्हीकल आर यूज्ड फॉर कलेक्शन, इट कैन बी अप्रोप्रिएट टू लोड द गार्बेज onto a larger transport vehicle. Transport thereby takes fewer vehicles and crew. In this image, you can see a waste collection, transfer and transport. Waste transfer can take place by emptying the garbage into a container for collection by large container car or by the garbage being loaded directly from the collection vehicle onto the transport vehicle. Waste disposal. Finally जो हमारा स्टेप होता है वो होता है वेस्ट को डिस्पोज करना, मतलब उसको खत्म करना या उसका कुछ यूज करना. Let's see how to do it. This is a common term for how the waste is handled, whether some of it is recycled, treated in some way as another, or placed in a landfill. Source sorting. The purpose of source sorting is to keep waste components separate from each other at a source or where the waste arises, so that one or more of them can be reutilized or recycled. Usually cardboard or paper are sorted. Such sorting requires that the producers of waste are enabled to store waste components separately, and that special collection and transport system for the various components exist. In developing countries, source sorting is still uncommon. तो सबसे पहले उसको सोर्स पर ही सॉर्ट किया जाता है, मतलब जहां से वेस्ट कलेक्ट होता है वहीं पर उसको अलग अलग चीजों में, अलग अलग हिस्सों में बांट दिया जाता है. बट डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज में ऐसा बहुत कम होता है. सेंट्रल सॉर्टिंग. Central sorting takes place by sorting out valuable components from mixed waste. In some industrialized countries, mechanized sorting plants exist, but these have only been tried out to a small degree in developing countries. At least as far as mixed domestic waste is concerned, manual sorting, however, is quite common, and large amounts of valuable materials are sorted out for reuse. Next is the process of segregation. इसमें हर वेस्ट को अलग अलग उसमें बांट दिया जाता है. Certain things that are not needed around the house can be kept aside to be sold to a junk dealer, kabadi wala, or to the man who buys old items. These items are newspapers, used bottles, magazines, bags, old exercise books, oil cans, etc. This is one form of segregation which is done as a routine in all households. In India, certain items are not biodegradable but can be reused or recycled. In fact, it is believed that a larger portion can be recycled. A part of it can be converted to compost, and only a smaller portion of it is a real waste that has no use and has to be discarded. Household waste should be separated daily into different bags for the different categories of waste, such as wet and dry waste, which should be disposed of separately. One should also keep a bin for toxic waste such as medicines, batteries, dried paints, old bulbs, and dried shoe polish. Wet waste, which consists of leftover food, vegetable peels, etc., should be put in a compost pit, and the compost could be used as a manure in the garden. Dry waste consisting of cans, aluminium foils, plastics, metal, glass, and paper could be recycled. If do not dispose of the waste in a more systematic manner, more than 1400 square kilometer of land, which is the size of the city of Delhi, would be required in a country by the year 2047 for waste disposal. Now let's first see this activity. Visit a landfill, an incinerator, a recycling center, or a sewage treatment plant. Ask for descriptions, details of the process followed in each place. Prepare a report. Production of refuse derived fuel, RDF. The highly combustible components that can be found in waste, that is cardboard, paper, textiles, and wood, are dried, grounded, and briquettes for the production of reuse derived fuel. A briquette is a small rectangular block of compressed materials such as charcoal, sawdust, or coal dust. Waste treatment method adopted by local corporations. As cities are growing in size with a rise in population, the amount of waste generated is increasingly becoming unmanageable. The local corporations have adopted different methods for the disposal of waste like open dumps, landfills, sanitary landfills, and incineration plants. One of the important methods of waste treatment is composting. क्योंकि अब शहर बढ़ते जा रहे हैं और बड़े बड़े शहरों से ज्यादा वेस्ट भी जनरेट होने लग गया है, तो वेस्ट को मैनेज करने के लिए वेस्ट ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट्स को लगाया जाता है. फर्स्ट मेथड है जिसमें कंपोस्टिंग. ऑर्गेनिक मैटर कंस्टिट्यूट्स 35 to 40% ऑफ म्युनिसिपल सॉलिड waste generated in India. This waste can be recycled by the method of composting, one of the oldest forms of disposal. It is the natural process of decomposition of organic waste that yields manure or compost, which is very rich in nutrients. Composting is a biological process in which microorganisms, mainly fungi and bacteria, convert the degradable organic waste into humus-like substance. This finished product, which looks like soil, is high in carbon and nitrogen content and is an excellent medium for growing plants. The process of composting ensures that the waste that is produced in the kitchens is not carelessly thrown out and left to rot. It recycles the nutrients and returns them to the soil as nutrients. Apart from being clean, cheap, and safe, composting can significantly reduce the amount of disposable garbage. The organic fertilizer can be used instead of chemical fertilizers and is better especially when used for vegetables. It increases the soil's ability to hold water and make the soil easier to cultivate. It helps the soil retain more of the plant nutrients. Vermicomposting has become very popular in the last few years. In this method, worms are added to the compost. This helps to break the waste, and the added excreta of the worms make the compost very rich in nutrients. Next is open dumps. Open dumps refer to uncovered areas that are used to dump solid waste of all kinds. The waste is untreated, uncovered, and not segregated. It is the breeding ground for flies, rats, and other insects that spread diseases. The rainwater runoff from these dumps contaminates nearly land and water, thereby spreading diseases. In some countries, open dumps are being phased out. Next is landfills. Landfills are generally located in urban areas where a large amount of waste is generated and has to be dumped in a common place. Unlike an open dump, it is a pit that is dug in the ground. The garbage is dumped and the pit is covered, thus preventing the breeding of flies and rats. At the end of each day, a layer of soil is scattered and on the top of it, and some mechanism, usually earth-moving equipment, is used to compress the garbage, which now forms a cell. Thus, every day garbage is dumped and becomes a cell. After the landfill is full, the area is covered with a thick layer of mud and the site can thereafter be developed as a parking lot or a park. Landfills have many problems. All types of waste is dumped in landfills, and when water seeps through them, it gets contaminated and in turn pollutes the surrounding area. This contamination of groundwater and soil through landfills is known as leaching. Sanitary landfills. An alternative to landfills which will solve the problem of leaching to some extent is a sanitary landfill, which is more hygienic and built in a methodical manner. These are lined with materials that are impermeable such as plastics and clay, and are also built over impermeable soil. Constructing sanitary landfills is very costly. The rate of decomposition in sanitary landfills is also extremely variable. This can be due to the fact that less oxygen is available as the garbage is compressed very tightly. It has also been observed that some biodegradable materials do not decompose in a landfill. Another major problem is the development of methane gas, which occurs when the little oxygen is present, that is during the anaerobic decomposition. Incineration plants. The process of burning waste in large furnaces is known as incineration. In these plants, the recyclable material is segregated and rest of the material is burnt. At the end of the process, all that is left behind is ash. During the process, some of the ash floats out with the air. This is called fly ash. Both the fly ash and the ash that is less in furnace after burning have high concentration of dangerous toxins such as dioxins and heavy metals. Disposing of this ash is a problem. The ash that is buried at the landfills leaches the area and causes severe contamination. Burning garbage is not a clean process as it produces tons of toxic ash and pollutes the air and water. A large amount of the waste that is burnt here can be recovered and recycled. In fact, at present, incineration is kept as the last resort and is used mainly to treat infectious waste. Anaerobic decomposition. Anaerobic decomposition is different from the aerobic decomposition even if the decomposition is done by microorganisms. Here the air is shut off and the process usually takes place in a reactor. Since the decomposition is anaerobic without air, inflammable methane gas is generated in addition to carbon dioxide, which can be utilized for energy purposes. Anaerobic decomposition of waste excreta on a small scale is a well-known technology in many developing countries. The generated gas is utilizable as energy for cooking in households. Management of hazardous waste. अब hazardous waste को कैसे मैनेज किया जाए, उसको कैसे डिकम्पोज किया जाए, let's see. Processing procedures for hazardous waste will vary according to the type of refuse, degree of toxicity, etc. There should be strict requirements regarding storage, collection, transport, transfer, and disposal of the waste. Hazardous waste should normally not be treated together with the other waste, but certain types may be burned together with other waste. Organic hazardous waste can be burnt in specially constructed incinerators, whereas inorganic waste can be detoxified, chemically stabilized, and or encapsulated prior to a controlled deposting. Special training and protection of those engaged in handling of refuse are necessary. All hazardous waste must be stored in clearly marked barrels, containers, etc. The marking must pay to any limitation concerning language and reading skills and clearly caution anyone coming into contact with the waste. Some items that can be recycled or reused. ऐसे कुछ items जिनको recycle और reuse किया जा सकता है. In the paper side, old copies, old books, paper bags, newspapers, old greeting cards, cardboards, boxes. Plastic में, in plastic, containers, bottles, bags, sheets. Glass and ceramics, bottles, plates, cups, bowls. Miscellaneous, old cans, utensils, clothes, furniture. Recycling and reuse. Recycling involves the collection of used and discarded materials, processing these materials and making them into a new product. This reduces the amount of waste that is thrown into community dustbins, thereby by making the environment clearer and the air is fresh to breathe. These are the steps involved in the process prior to recycling. Number 1, collection of waste from doorsteps and commercial places. Number 2, collection of waste from community dumps. Number 3, collection, picking up of waste from final disposal sites. Most of the garbage in the households can be recycled and reused. Organic kitchen waste such as left out food, vegetable peels and spoiled or dead fruits and vegetables can be recycled by putting them in the compost pits that have been dug in the garden. Old newspapers, magazines and bottles can be sold to the junk dealer, kabadiwala, the person who buys these items from homes. In your own homes, you can contribute to waste reduction and recycling and reuse of certain items. To cover your books, you can use old calendars, old greeting cards can also be reused. Paper can also be made at home through a very simple process and you can paint on them. Waste recycling has some significant advantages. It leads to less utilization of raw materials. It reduces environmental impurities arising from waste treatment and disposal. It makes the surroundings clean and healthy. It saves landfill space. It saves money. It reduces the amount of energy required to manufacture new product. Now let's see the recycling waste. Here are few examples of recycling of waste. Old papers, newspapers and torn papers can be easily recycled to form fresh writing paper. Old and rusted metals can be melted in big furnaces and shaped into new ones as per requirement. Kitchen waste, sewage and wastewater can be used for generating energy. This waste is put in big digester and burnt. As a result, a large amount of gas called gobar gas is produced, thus can be taken to kitchen through pipelines and used for cooking. This can also be used for lighting, power generation and running of electrical equipment. This is the gobar gas plant. Proper glass material can be converted into new bottles. You have read earlier in this chapter that biodegradable waste can easily be decomposed by nature. We can also decompose the waste with the help of eating worms. The waste are dumped in a large pit within the soil. Earthworms are added to these pits. The earthworms eat soil along with the waste material and convert them into humus. This process is commonly called vermicomposting and the pit is called a compost pit. Sewage water is treated in large tanks called septic tanks. In these tanks, the heavy particles settle down first. Then alum is added, which helps the fine particles to settle. The sediment liquid is filtered and purified air is blown through it, and chlorine tablets are added to kill the germs. Specially designed sewage treatment plants are used for the recycling of waste. Health impacts of waste. Waste के health पर पड़ने वाले impacts. Modernization and progress has its share of disadvantages, and one of the main aspects of concern is the pollution it is causing to the earth, be it land, air or water. With the increase in the global pollution and the rising demand for food and other essentials, there has been a rise in the amount of waste being generated daily by each household. Waste that is not properly managed, especially excreta and other liquid and solid waste from households and the community, are a serious health hazard and lead to the spread of infectious diseases. Unattended waste lying around attracts flies, rats and other creatures that in turn spread diseases. Normally, it is the wet waste that decomposes and releases a bad odor. This leads to unhygienic conditions and thereby to a rise in the health problems. The plague outbreak in Surat is a good example of a city suffering due to the callous attitude of the local bodies in maintaining cleanliness in the city. Plastic waste is another cause for ill health. Thus, excessive solid waste that is generated should be controlled by taking certain preventive measures. Knowledge basket. Between 2000 and 2025, the waste composition of Indian garbage will undergo the following changes. Organic waste will go up from 40% to 60%, plastic will be rise from 4% to 6%, metal will escalate from 1% to 4%, glass will increase from 2% to 3%, paper will climb from 5% to 15%. Others, ash, sand, grit will decrease from 47% to 12%. Exposure to hazardous waste can affect human health, especially children being more vulnerable to these pollutants. In fact, direct exposure can lead to diseases through chemical exposure, as the release of chemical waste into the environment leads to chemical poisoning. Waste from agriculture and industries can also cause serious health risks. Other than this, co-disposal of industrial hazardous waste with municipal waste can expose people to chemical and radioactive hazards. Waste dumped near a water source also causes contamination of the water body, groundwater source. Direct dumping of untreated waste in rivers, seas and lakes result in the accumulation of toxic substances in the food chain through the plants and animals that feed on it. Disposal of hospital and other medical waste requires special attention, since this can create major health hazards. This waste generated from the hospitals, healthcare centers, medical laboratories and research centers, such as discarded syringe, needles, bandages, swabs, plasters and other types of infectious waste, are often disposed with the regular non-infectious waste. Waste treatment and disposable sites can also create health hazards for the neighborhood. Improperly operated incineration plants cause air pollution. Improperly managed design landfills attract all types of insects and rodents that spread diseases. Ideally, these sites should be located at a safe distance from all human settlement. Landfill sites should be well lined and walled to ensure that there is no leakage into the nearby groundwater sources. Recycling too carries health risk if proper precautions are not taken. Workers working with waste containing chemicals and metals may experience toxic exposure. Disposal of healthcare waste requires special attention, since it can create major health hazards such as hepatitis B and C. through wounds caused by discarded syringes. Rag pickers and others who are involved in scavenging in the waste traps for the items that can be recycled may sustain injuries and come into direct contact with these infectious items. Tech Talk. Several companies now make smart waste bins that offer a wide range of functions. Many include sensors that detect trash levels so they can alert users when they are full. This information can help people track their disposal habits and optimize trash pickup schedules, reducing fuel consumption. Some of these trash cans have interactive screens to guide users towards better waste management. They can tell people how to dispose of different items or communicate the environmental impact of some trash. That way, users can become more conscious of what they throw away. Moral learned. We need to tackle food waste for all those practical reasons, but also because food waste is deeply unethical. Wasted food is a symbol of much of the environmental destruction widespread in Western society. It's also a fundamental injustice that so much food is thrown away while so many people can't afford to eat. Recapitulation. Waste is an important environmental and public health issue of global concern. Many of our activities produce unwanted material that is waste. Waste can be classified as gases, solid or liquid according to their physical state. Waste generated from our houses are domestic waste. Waste generated by different sources are of different kinds. The waste material which can be decomposed in nature are biodegradable and those which cannot be decomposed are non-biodegradable. Biodegradable waste is decomposed in the soil with the help of microorganisms. Waste can be reused and recycled in various ways. Kitchen waste is a good source of biogas in rural areas. Sewage water can be purified in septic tanks or in sewage treatment plants. Sewage treatment results in the removal of harmful substances from the sewage. Dumping of waste in our surrounding can harm our environment. Sewage treatment results in the removal of harmful substances from the sewage and making it harmless. Dumping of waste in our surroundings can harm our environment. The accumulated waste affects pathogenic organisms that cause diseases in human beings. Thank you, class. Let's meet again next time.